What's up guys? In today's episode I'm going to be talking about the differences between being a flat rate mechanic versus an hourly mechanic, pros and cons, and which one is better for you. So let's get started. Yo! What is up guys? Nick Nakai here. Let's Drift Media. Thank you guys for coming back to the channel. If it's your first time here, please do me a favor, hit that subscribe button down below. It really helps out the channel, as well as dropping a like. So really quick, sorry I haven't been posting weekly like I try to for you guys. Been real busy, took a little bit of vacation time. Have been in driving school this past week doing my Class A training. So I've been driving around a semi-truck on the public roads, stick shift, trying to learn all that. And really just gearing my focus towards that because I just need to get my CDL license already. So that's what's been going on with me. Hopefully we can return to our weekly schedule. So before we get started with this video, if you can, drop a comment what you think when it comes to being a flat rate tech versus an hourly tech. Maybe your story, if you've been in flat rate or you're flat rate right now or you're hourly right now. Let me know. Let me know what you guys think, and that way the viewers can go down and read the comments because it really helps them out, and I really appreciate all your guys' input. Alright, so I'll go ahead and start with being a flat rate tech because that's what I was for like the last 5, almost 6 years of my life. So flat rate, pretty much, for those of you guys who don't know, every job, no matter what it is, has a set labor time, whether it be a warranty job or a customer pay job. Each job has a set time that it pays. So for example, I always say a brake job. It's pretty generic. Brake jobs pay 2 hours per axle. So a front brake job pays 2 hours, rear brake job pays 2 hours. Say you're replacing like a tail light housing, that might pay like 0.5. Say you're replacing a dashboard under warranty, that might pay 2.6 hours is what I'm saying. So every job has its set labor time, and that's pretty much how much you're getting paid for that job. So say going back to that brake job, you're gonna get paid 2 hours for that job, regardless how long it takes. If it takes you 2.5 hours for some reason, you're still gonna get paid 2 hours. If it takes you 30 minutes, you're gonna get paid 2 hours. That's how you bank up your hours as flat rate, and that's how it determines your paycheck being a flat rate tech. So you go probably a 2-week pay period. Every day you're flagging so many hours depending on how many jobs you're completing in that day. It adds up for that 2-week pay period, and how many hours you flagged is your paycheck. Obviously the hours flagged times your hourly or your flat rate hour rate. And I'd like to add, it came to my attention after posting some videos talking about flat rate, is that California has it pretty easily. So I say you get paid for the amount of hours you flag, that's your paycheck. Apparently in other states besides California, whatever hours you flag for those 2 weeks, that's your paycheck. So it doesn't matter, say you have a really crappy pay period and you only flagged 40 hours. Your paycheck for that 2 weeks is your 40 hours times your hourly rate, which is kind of shitty because in California, you are flat rate, but you're still clocked in. And say for some reason in California, you didn't flag your 80 hours, but you were clocked in for 80 hours, you'll still get paid your 80 hours at your hourly rate. Versus other states, it doesn't matter how many hours you're clocked in. If you don't flag any hours, you're not really getting paid much because you're only getting paid for the hours flagged. So that's a very big key point when it comes to flat rate, because for the longest time I thought all flat rate was the same, and it's like, oh, well, if you don't flag your hours, you're still gonna get paid the hours clocked in. That's only a California thing apparently. So California, that's probably like the only damn good thing we have about being in California. So yeah, hopefully you guys understood that explanation of flat rate. It's pretty straightforward, like I said. Jobs pay certain hours, you get paid those hours for completing that job, and however many jobs or hours you flag in a given pay period determines what your paycheck is gonna look like. If you have any questions, feel free to drop a comment and I could probably explain it a little bit more so you can understand it. Okay, so I wrote some numbers down here to give you guys some examples. I'm not that good at math, so let's just say your base rate is $30 per flag hour. At least in California, if you're a flat rate tech, the law is double minimum wage. So whatever minimum wage is, you're getting double that as a flat rate tech. So right now they're at $15 an hour in California. So all flat rate techs, base level, entry level, bottom pay for them is $30 an hour. And this is at the bottom. But let's just say you flagged 80 hours and it was an 80-hour pay pay period. You're still gonna get paid your 80 hours times your flat rate or times your hourly rate. It doesn't, they're gonna be right there at the same. Some places do have a different flag rate versus your hourly rate, but most places I've worked, your flag rate is kind of your hourly rate and it just ends up being the same thing. So let's just say you flagged 80 hours getting paid $30 an hour. Your paycheck before taxes is gonna be $2,400. So that's like pretty much the bare minimum, at least in California, that you would make, obviously before taxes. So let's just say that $2,400 is pretty much the lowest you will make as a flat rate tech in California if you are clocked in for your full 80 hours. So clocked in 8 hours a day, Monday through Friday for 2 weeks. So that is kind of nice because it's like you have that cushion where at least, even though you're flat rate and it depends on how many hours you flag, at least you know that's gonna be the bare minimum. But like I said, that's just California. Other states, the bare minimum could be a lot less than 2,400. But let's just say, for example, you flagged 130 hours in a 2-week pay period. At your $30 an hour, that comes out to $3,900 for the 2 weeks, gross. So this is where it gets kind of interesting because say you flag that 130 hours, 3,900 divided by 80 hours, because that's the hours you were actually clocked in physically there. Could be more, could be less, but let's just say you were working for 80 hours, but you flagged 130 hours. That comes down to $49 an hour you made technically. So that's a really awesome part about flat rate is even though your base pay could be like $30, $32 an hour, really if you're flagging a lot of hours, like you're gonna be averaging like $45, $50 an hour. So that's pretty crazy because it's like almost like the base pay rate is kind of irrelevant. Not irrelevant because obviously the more you make, you're still gonna make more if you flag more, but you could be at $30 an hour, but say you flagged that 130 hours that pay period, technically you made $49 an hour. So now I'm just gonna go to the glory land. This is a very rare occasion. I guarantee you're probably not gonna be doing this, but if you flag 200 hours, which is possible, I've done it once in my career, but it's definitely not like an every pay period thing. Trust me guys, 200 hours is pretty freaking hard to achieve. But if you flag 200 hours, you would have grossed $6,000 for that 2-week pay period. Divided that by 80 hours, that comes down to $75 an hour. That is a lot of money per hour if you really think about it. But think about that, at that 200 hours, a killer pay period, you made $6,000 for the 2 weeks. But if you had a crappy pay period and you only hit your 80 hours, that's $2,400. That's a big difference, and that's the thing about flat rate. It is very up and down. Like really, there's so many variables that come into flat rate when it comes to how many hours you're gonna make, like who's dispatching the work? Are they being fair with the work? Are you on a team leader system, or are the service writers dispatching the work, or is the shop foreman dispatching the work for the whole shop? And is that person dispatching the work, are they being fair and distributing the work evenly? Because a lot of dealerships, there's favoritism. No matter where you go, there's gonna be favoritism at any dealership you work at, and that guy who gets the favoritism is probably getting a lot of the easy work, meaning a lot more hours for that person to flag, while another person could be stuck over here, say you, and you're just getting a lot of crappy tickets, like noise complaints, warranty work, stuff that doesn't really pay that much. Yeah, you can still make your hours, but it just gets a lot more difficult to make your hours when you're not getting that easy work. When I say it fluctuates a lot. I went down to my 2021, my pay history and looked at like my paychecks, and they were up and down, up and down. Some were really good, some were like insane for a 2-week pay period, and then some were just like all right. And that's the thing about flat rate. It's like it's so up and down, and there's so many variables that come into play. So if you guys saw my other video, you saw that I grossed $84K for the year. My hourly rate was $31. So 84 grand for the year, $31 an hour, technically flat rate, but doing the math on average for the entire year, technically my pay rate was $44 an hour that I was clocked in working at the dealership. So that's why I say, even though your base pay rate is only $30, $32, $35, When you look at the bigger picture, you're probably making like $40 to $55 an hour. So that part still just blows my mind, because it's like, you think like, oh man, like I'm only making like $31 an hour, like this job's gonna go pay me like $35 an hour. Well, if that job you're looking at is hourly, technically you're making more money right now as flat rate, since you have the ability or the opportunity to flag a lot more hours to actually bump up your hourly pay if you're looking at it like that. So that's me trying to explain flat rate in the most positive way I can. It is really cool. I really actually like flat rate because I like to work hard, and it's super rewarding knowing that like, man, like I only worked for 80 hours, but I got paid for 160 hours. Like I doubled my money for the time that I was there. So that's the awesome part. Flat rate is great if you are willing to work hard and just grind, because if you're not really grinding and working hard and flagging hours, you're not really making that much money. And flat rate is not going to be so rewarding if you're not making a lot of money. So that's one thing to think about when you're deciding flat rate versus hourly. Are you a self-motivated type of person? Because when you're in the dealership, nobody's going to be like, come on, Nick, like let's flag them hours. Like maybe the service manager might, but like that's not real motivation. Like you need to be able to motivate yourself. Like, okay, like I'm gonna go to work, I'm gonna work my ass off, I'm gonna flag as many hours, I'm gonna take the bad tickets with the good tickets. Sometimes you might even have to work through your lunch or take like a 20-minute lunch because you have like a job waiting, and it's like, that's like a pretty big ticket, so it ends up being worth it just to skip your lunch that day to get those hours. Or you might have to come in early to get the good tickets, or you might have to stay late. Those times where I was flagging like crazy hours, I was going in at 7 in the morning, working through lunch. I would just maybe take like 10 minutes to eat really quick and then go back to work, and then staying till like 6, sometimes 7 at night. So it was really like, yeah, I was clocked in for 8 hours, but I was there for like 10 hours sometimes. So that's another thing to think about. Like with flat rate, being on the clock does not really matter. At least if you're someone who is efficient and flagging more hours than the clock-in time. Like when I was flat rate, I didn't care what time I clocked in. I didn't care if I took a long lunch or a short lunch. I didn't care if I was working late, because on paper, I would clock in at 8 in the morning, clock out for lunch at 11 or 12, clock back in an hour, and clocked out at 5 p.m. That was just for the paperwork, like to be on paper, to be legal, because a lot of dealerships don't like you clocked in for overtime. But the clock didn't matter to me because I was still working, because to me, my paycheck was the hours flagged, the work I was doing, not how many hours I was punched in on the clock. But just another thing to think about, as much as flat rate sounds awesome, because it's like, oh man, I can make so much money, like if I just flag all these hours, the thing you just really have to get through your head is every pay period is different. Times of the season affect it. I can guarantee around the holidays, like November, December, people aren't bringing their cars into the dealership or trying to pay money to get their cars fixed. So those times really get slow. I remember being at the dealership every time around those months. It's like we would go in, maybe get like a job or two, and then the rest of the day we're just like kicking rocks, like bullshitting around in the shop because people weren't bringing their cars in. And if people aren't bringing their cars in, you're not flagging hours, your paycheck isn't gonna be that grand. So there's just a lot of fluctuations. Summer times tend to be really busy, which is nice. But when it gets slow, it gets slow. And that's like one thing that really bothered me, because it's like, I'm going to work and I'm trying to make money, and then you go in and there's nothing to do. So I'm just like, what the hell am I even doing here? Like around those holiday times, I would go in and like be leaving by like 12 o'clock, like going home. Because I was like, I'm not just going to sit here for this hourly paycheck. Like I could go make more money doing something else than just sitting here getting paid by the hour. So that's one big thing to think about. As well as, like I said, like the dispatching system. There's a lot of places that don't run the show very fairly. So if you're at one of those places, I'm sorry. That's why when it comes to the dealership, it's all about politics there. You got to get on the boss's good side. And another thing with flat rate, it just gets kind of stressful. People get like really greedy in flat rate, and it's always kind of like oh, why is this guy doing that job? Like, why is this guy doing that job? And it's like people are always just complaining about why someone's doing this versus worrying about them damn selves. But that's just kind of where it gets stressful too, because you're going in and you're not sure how much money you're gonna make this paycheck. So if you're a person that likes just like a stable paycheck, like I know what I'm gonna take home, I don't have to worry about this, like this is gonna be my paycheck, then maybe flat rate is not for you, because it can get stressful sometimes, at least for me, because even though I knew I was gonna make my hours, I always made my hours. There was probably like 1 or 2 paychecks in my life where I didn't flag over my clock-in hours. It's still like in the back of my mind, like, okay, how many hours am I flagging? Like, what am I at? Like, how many hours have I flagged this week? How many hours am I gonna have like by the end of the pay period? Like, it's always in the back of your mind because, again, that's your paycheck, how many hours you flagged. All right, so that's pretty much the gist of flat rate. Like I said, let me know in the comments if you have any questions. Now, I'll just kind of give a rundown about hourly, being an hourly tech. I mean, hourly is a little bit more self-explanatory. Me now am an hourly tech at a utility company as a fleet mechanic. So now it's like a completely different world for me because I'm so used to go. But hourly, pretty much, it's hourly. You get paid like any other job by how many hours you're clocked in. You have your hourly rate. You get that times however many hours you clocked in. There's not really much you can do to get a bigger paycheck besides working more hours, overtime. So now, for me to make more money at the utility place, it's all coming down to overtime. Like when they offer overtime for me is pay and a half. But now for me, it's like if they're offering overtime, I'm trying to get that overtime because it's my it's my hourly rate times half of that. So say it's at $40, technically when I'm working overtime, I'm making like $60. So that's how hourly people make more money to increase their paycheck. But hourly definitely is just a whole lot less stress to me, because when you're hourly, especially coming from flat rate, it's like, it doesn't matter how many cars you bust out a day or how many jobs you fly through a day. Being hourly, you could do 1 car for the whole day, you could do 3 cars, you could do 50 cars, your paycheck's gonna be the same. So that's why I say it's a whole lot less stressful, because now being hourly, I know the minimum paycheck I'm gonna have is gonna be this much. It's never like, oh, it could be this much or it could be this much, even though when I was flat rate, it's like, yeah, we had our minimum, but that minimum was something I never wanted to hit. But now being hourly, it's like, I know my minimum, it's a good enough amount for me to live off, and I can base my lifestyles and spending habits around that, not going into the next month being like, oh crap, like I hope I have enough money to pay the bills this month, or I hope I have enough money to go do this, what I wanted to do, because it's like, I already know, like I know how much money I'm gonna make till the end of the year. If anything, it's just gonna be more if I get overtime. So definitely different. So really, if you're one person, maybe you're not as self-motivated, I would say, you don't like to bust your ass, you don't like to break your back all day for a paycheck, I definitely think hourly might be something that you would prefer more than flat rate, because I've seen a lot of guys go into flat rate. They either don't understand the concept of flagging, or they don't understand how to make those hours efficiently, how to, I don't want to say work the system, but how to work the system in their favor to get those hours, and they hate it because they're like, they go in there and they're, oh, this guy's getting this guy's getting all these hours and gravy, and I'm over here like doing this bull crap, and they just hate it. So if you're a person like that and you don't want to deal with as much stress and drama as flat rate techs, I would definitely recommend hourly, because it's a whole lot more laid back, a whole lot more chill, and like I said, just less stress. Not having to worry, how many cars am I gonna get today? What am I gonna work on today? It can be like that, what am I gonna work on today? But at the end of the day, you get paid for the hours you're there, so it's really a whole lot less stress. That's pretty much my comparison, hourly versus flat rate. I mean, with hourly, there's really not too much to talk about, because in my head at least, it's kind of self-explanatory, versus flat rate, I feel like there's a whole lot more variables, things that come into play when it comes to making money. So in conclusion, my Nick Nakai opinion on hourly versus flat rate, I did flat rate for 5, almost 6 years, and now being hourly, I would say I'll stick with hourly. Honestly, I like it. I love it because just mainly the stress, and I'm not killing myself every day trying to make that buck. Now it's kind of just like, okay, slow down, take your time. You get paid by the hour, so there's no point of rushing the job out. Even my managers tell me that, like, they don't want me rushing jobs out. And I just really like it because it's like, to me, it's just a little bit more structured. Like, I go into work, they tell me what I'm gonna do. Okay, I have that for the day. As long as I complete those tasks, we're good. I get my paycheck. I already know exactly how much my paycheck's gonna be. If anything, it's gonna be a little bit more if I work a Saturday and get that overtime, or if I stay late one of the nights and just get that overtime. So honestly, hourly in the long run seems so much more sustainable, less stress, and I would just choose hourly. So yeah, that's my 2 cents, guys, when it comes to hourly versus flat rate. Like I said, drop a comment if you have any questions or concerns or would like me to elaborate more on something. I kind of just did this video because a lot of people don't really understand flat rate, and as great as it may seem, there's a lot of drawbacks to it. And same with hourly, as great as it may seem too, there is still drawbacks, because in my head, I'm always like, man, like, if I was at the dealership and I flagged this many hours, like, I would have made way more. But then I always remind myself those times where I didn't flag any hours and how crappy the paycheck was. So yeah, guys, that's all I got for you guys. Please share the video, send it to a friend. It really helps out the channel. We are on the road to 50K. Hope we get that soon. Probably get it by the end of this summer, I'd say. And I'll try and keep pumping out videos weekly. Feel free to drop any video recommendations down in the comments, because it's pretty easy to run out of ideas, and sometimes I don't know what to talk about or show you guys. So also feel free to join the Discord server. We got a lot of cool folks in there, and we have a lot of threads in there to tech talk, tools, stuff like that. So you guys have a great rest of your week, great weekend actually, 'cause today's Friday, and I'll catch you guys later.